Good evening, everyone. I'm Mayor Pro Tem Natasha Harper-Madison, proud City Council representative of District 1 in East and Northeast Austin. Welcome to our special live stream tonight to highlight an issue in District 1 that has caught the attention of the entire city. Last month, residents of Mount Carmel Village apartments on East 12th lost gas service after a leak was detected on the property. This 12-acre income-restricted community near Rosewood Park in Central East Austin. For more than a month now, those residents have been without gas. That means not being able to cook and not being able to take hot showers or keep warm. I'm deeply grateful to community advocates who first alerted my office about the outage in March. My team and I have been deeply and actively involved in working with my colleagues at the City of Austin, the gas company, the property owners, advocates, resource providers, and the residents themselves to resolve this challenge. We've learned the full scale of the leak will require a complete replacement of the gas lines underneath the property. That work is already underway, but it is a massive endeavor that will take up to 3 months to finish. It's being done in phases in order to minimize disruption for the residents of the property's buildings, which number more than a dozen. And residents are being temporarily relocated. A specialist in that field has been contracted to help find short-term housing at hotels, other apartment communities, corporate rentals, short-term rentals. Most options are on the table if they meet HUD requirements. Special attention is being made to ensure that this temporary housing is appropriate for families, for seniors, and for other residents with particular needs. As I've said before, this episode is a glaring example of the challenges that our city faces as much of our affordable housing stock starts to show the wear and tear of age. This property is over 50 years old. That's something I hope to address on a policy level with my city council colleagues. We have to ensure that landlords are meeting their obligations to maintain quality of life for their renters. This is also an opportunity for those renters to know they have the power to advocate for themselves. For the past few weeks, the tenants advocacy group known as BASTA, that's Building and Strengthening Tenant Action, has been working with Mount Carmel residents to help them form a tenants association. Tonight, those residents have approved a draft agreement and are just waiting on the property owners to agree to their terms. Tonight, I have two representatives of that tenants association here to tell us more. Daniqua Brewster, AKA Beaver, has been living at Mount Carmel for 14 years and enjoys being with her family and playing spades. Carla Davis is Austin, Texas, born and raised, like me, lives at Mount Carmel and likes to relax with her family. She also likes to play spades. Both have deep roots in Austin. And from BASTA Austin, we have Mincho Jacob, who's communications coordinator and an organizer working with the tenants at Mount Carmel. He loves music and would be interested in a spades tournament with Carla and Daniqua.
When this is all over, we're definitely going to do that, right?
Well, I'm not even going to put myself out there. I've been told I should just sit down somewhere is how I was told. I'm going to take their advice. Thank y'all for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Well, good. I don't want to keep y'all long. I mean, it's you've been living this reality, right? So I don't have to tell you any of the details. I think this is a really good opportunity for folks who are watching who want to know, just the details. How are y'all? How can they help? What's going on? Why is it taking so long? Everybody has questions, and I think most of them are well-meaning and really just want to see y'all all right, which is beautiful, but I bet can also be pretty overwhelming. So, I mean, in your own words, can y'all tell us what have the past 5 weeks been like for you and your neighbors?
Hell, it's been like a nightmare. It's like waking up one day and we had just gotten over the winter storm. We were without electricity. And so we were happy just to have our electricity back for one day. My family was over. We were going to have us a little seafood boil because they discovered that I can do that. And so they were happy to be. And we found out we weren't going to have gas. And we found out at 4:45 in the afternoon, right before dinner was about to be cooked. 4:45, we find out there's no gas. Um, our favorite maintenance man Val was running door to door trying to forewarn us, and then it's just been cold showers. I think for the first 12 days we were just like trying to figure out what was going to happen. There was a backlog for assistants to come over here to even look at and figure out what was going on with the gas, just because we was over winter storm and all the contractors were so backed up. It's been rough, to say the least. It's been tiring. And now that we have our agreement with the Eureka, we just want them to go ahead and sign it and take care of that and stick to that. But Carla, how you can say a little bit? I know I'll go on and on and
No,
on.
you're good. She's right on the right track. So for me, I didn't find out about the gas until 3 days later. So I wasn't for sure what was going on. And it's been hell. And me and my kids been traveling back and forth, different hotel rooms that I have purchased, and also we've been going back and forth to my mom's. Trying to take a shower and stuff like that. I mean, it's I don't. It's really mentally it's draining everybody mentally and physically. I mean, my mental state and my boy's mental state isn't really good right now.
I think over the last couple of weeks, just this the community that we've just gotten together, just being there for one another, going out, getting out, talking to our neighbors, letting them know that we're all in this together. We're going to work together. We want to ensure that everyone comes back home to their place. They have a place, because there was a lot of stress and worry that if we leave, we're not going to be able to come back. And so, just to be able to ensure our neighbors that once this agreement is signed and taken care of, we're going to be back. We're going to have a block party with spades.
Right.
We have great plans for our neighbors. It has really been rough, but over the last few weeks, even knowing that I have to go home and take a cold shower, just being able to be with my comrades and be with my neighbors and talking and understanding what they're going through, helping those who can't help themselves, has been great. Like it's been fulfilling for me. And
That's
there
the
were
beautiful
organizations
thing.
that came in, and we're grateful for those organizations. But we're just happy BASTA came in and helped us with what
Right.
we were attempting to do.
We thank God for
We thank
Basta.
God for
Yes.
BASTA.
Yes.
Yes.
And
I
so we.
really appreciate y'all sharing. I can't even imagine, and at some point, so I work a lot with Basta in District 1 on some other properties. And with this one, when I reached out and I said, hey, they need y'all at Mount Carmel, they were like already on it, like they had already been activated, which I really appreciate. And, I think in a situation like this, a little bit of a silver lining, that coming together as a community is just such a beautiful thing. And I really appreciate that that's what y'all are doing and how you're taking care of one another. One of your neighbors, she let me know about myself and she said, look, we did this, you might be doing something and somebody else might be doing, but we did this. And she's right. And I said, you don't have any argument out of me. Y'all did this. It was the community coming together and advocating for themselves and making demands for the most basic human rights, access to utilities and comfort in your home. So I really appreciate that y'all are where you are now. And that leads me to ask the question, what's happening this week? Are y'all being relocated? What does that look like? Have they given you information as far as a timeline is concerned? What does this week and going into next week look like for y'all?
Well, we're just waiting on everyone for them to get back with us. I done my interview, and have you
I've
you
done
done
my interview.
yours?
I know where I'm going, so we kind of got
I
like I,
don't know right now
she
though.
yeah. So some know, some don't. We know that we are all going to be relocated. We've come to terms with that part, because we
Mm-hmm.
know that the work is going to take some time. We can't say exactly how long. It's going to work in phases. Hopefully, after 15, 20 days, the homes are back online. So those buildings that have already started, they can return to their home. It is a 3 month process. 90 days is what we're looking at. Hopefully, if nothing else changes, so everyone should be back on the Mount Carmel property within 90 days, and then we're gonna have our block party.
Well,
Yes.
y'all will have to let us know how the District 1 office and the City of Austin can help with planning and execution on that block party. It should be the biggest one 12th Street has ever seen. Y'all have endured more than most people. I've been trying to make sure to make a point of saying that. You know, most people could not have gracefully endured for a couple of days, let alone, 40 days is what we're looking at this point. And so I think y'all have handled it with grace. And I think you've also handled it with the kind of fortitude and resilience that, I find is common on the East Side. I also grew up in East Austin, and, when the storm hit and a lot of my friends and family were saying, we can figure it out. I think some people who are more fragile and less resilient, had a harder time. So I really do appreciate that y'all had that grit and fortitude to fight for this long. And, and I really just hope that you don't have to hang on for much longer. My prayers are about relocation for y'all. I just want everybody to be.
Thank
you. So we have our agreement. We're just waiting for you.
Yeah, exactly. So, we're just waiting on Eureka to sign the proposal and, let us know. And we just hope that they keep their word and they really come through this time,
Absolutely. Well, so I'd like to ask about your newly formed Tenants Association. How did that all come about? And, as you were forming the association, was there anything that was surprising to you in the process?
So we were trying to start one on our own, and it was kind of working out a little bit. People showed up. We had a little meeting, and they were told, well, you have to do it this way. And so there was some back and forth, and then BASTA came in, and they were like, we're going to help y'all. And ever since that Saturday when Micho showed up, we've kind of been working it out, and it's come together. So it's been about 2 weeks, and we've had numerous meetings, numerous gatherings, and we came up with our agreement, and it's really been working out for us as a community. So I encourage any other communities, if you don't have a tenants association, it will really help you.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, so I think there's a lot of folks watching, and, y'all experienced an influx of people who came with concern, who wanted to help out. They were bringing stuff, bringing themselves, bringing, frustration and solidarity with you. And I got the distinct impression that along the way, y'all were growing weary with all these folks basically at your house. And so I would like to be able to, in your own words, to tell people, if they're watching and they're worried about y'all and they're thinking about you and they want to contribute, but they don't want to get in the way and they don't want to overwhelm you, what is the best way for them to show support for y'all?
If you show up and you talk to the neighbors. I mean, I know that now that we're going to be off the property, it's not as easy to talk to the neighbors, but just get to know someone, and you can be led in the right direction. If you contact the Tenants Association, we kind of have an idea of the needs of our neighbors, so we can say, hey, if you offering this, then I know that my neighbor in apartment 232 really, really needs that. And so just getting to know, talking to someone, getting to know what the needs are of the community really helps. And there was an outpour of assistance that came in, and there was a lot of organizations. I think we just lacked the organization of the organizations. So that was one part of it. And that's kind of what got frustrating, because people were talking they would go to the landlord or they would talk to everyone but the tenants. And it was like, wow, so you're helping us, but you don't know how to help us.
I appreciate that. And I think that's a reality check that all of us needed. You don't want to get in the trap of helping people and not having them be at the table, because that's not helping them at all. I put in our chat, Caleb, Mount Carmel tenants at gmail.com. I think that's the best way to get in touch with the Tenants Association. And I know that Jacob has offered to run point. They're going to be moving here in the next couple of weeks. And frankly, that, life is just a little uncertain and they're stressed out. And so we don't want you to get inundated with, folks who are trying to reach out to y'all. Jacob, would you mind giving me your email address real quick so I can put it in the chat and then Caleb can share it?
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat too. And I just want to say a little bit about the leadership that a lot of these folks here at Mount Carmel have done. Mutual aid is great and it's wonderful, but they were needing to pressure the system, and they came together. They made a petition by speaking to all the neighbors. They got a petition together, and then we presented that petition to Eureka, to Southwest Housing Corporation, Compliance Corporation, which is on top of all the HUD properties in Central Texas, and HACA as well got involved. And they went to a meeting with all these folks who were in housing every day, and they studied. They were nervous. They talked a lot among each other and with me to like be able to present their needs to Eureka, to HACA, to Southwest Housing Compliance Corporation, to let them know that, like, hey, we know we're going to have to move. That looks like it's inevitable now, but also, like, we are humans. We're not just numbers. There's things that we need. There's a lot of people here with a lot of families, a lot of kids working here next to a construction site. So a lot of the demands they made also about like some assistance for rent, assistance for meals, because they're getting displaced from their homes. They haven't been able to cook. There's people who are pregnant. There's elderly folks. So their leadership together, and to come out and be on camera, it takes a lot. It's not an easy thing to do. And I think all of us at BASTA have been really impressed with the leadership that we're seeing here on the ground, and that people, they just want to be humanized, and they're not just a number, they are people, and I'm really proud to be working with them.
I appreciate that, and I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, the leadership is obviously the thing, the driving force, and so just to sort of go back to what you were saying about BASTA's involvement, how did y'all get involved with this with the tenants at Mount Carmel Village?
Since the winter storm, we have been with a coalition of a lot of different organizations, Workers Defense Project, among many others, Austin Justice Coalition, so many different folks that have been working together to get water, to get food to folks that were really devastatingly impacted by the storm. We know that it wasn't just the storm that left a lot of these folks without water. It's negligent landlords, problems in the system of making sure that infrastructure is set. So like I could name 20 apartments off the top of my head that have had significant problem for months of water and no gas. And a lot of that stems from long-term neglect. Yes, there is issues with the freeze push things, but there's a lot of things that could be looked at longer term. And I think it's really incumbent upon all of us to do that, because these are folks like most of these ladies said, they're longtime Austinites. Bieber, you should talk about your mom and her displacement 50 years ago. It shows a long history that has affected a lot of people of color in Austin. I don't know if you want to mention that. I'm putting you on the spot, Bieber.
No, definitely my mom. She talks about it a lot, and she's a resident here also, and she's visually impaired, and so it really bothers her to think that she's going to be displaced, because she remembered it happening 50 years ago, and she wasn't able to go back to her home. Like Mopac is literally where their house used to be.
Wow.
And so she discusses that a lot, and just knowing that fear for her, and then seeing it happen to her grandchildren, to her daughter, it really bothers her. And so she's going with me though. So
there's layers here, and I hope people really recognize the complexity of this situation, how it does, like Miss Carla said, weighs on your mental, and that of your kids. And you can't I'm a mother too, you can't make decisions about planning for your family if you don't know what's going to happen next. Yeah. And I just can't even imagine that level of uncertainty. And I just really appreciate y'all coming on and sharing for folks. Mitchell, I would like to ask you, sort of, if we're thinking about next steps, I think at least a part of that would be a debrief about this one. Can you tell us if there's any lessons to be learned from this particular crisis? I think you touched on it some with, sort of negligent property ownership, but, in fact, I'll lead. I'll say for me, something that I learned here was that, I'm a council member for this district, and I live right around the corner. I mean, I literally could drive to Mount Carmel right now. I could hang up with y'all and jump in my car and be there in less than 3 minutes. That's how close it is to my house. We were doing a relief effort right at the Millennium. I can see Mount Carmel from the Millennium. We were there working for 4 hard days and didn't know y'all were without gas. And so for me, something that I've learned and that I really want to work on from a policy perspective is I think something should have triggered something, like, having a community whose natural gas was turned off and there was no trigger. That the council member wasn't notified, the county commissioner wasn't notified, not the mayor, the city manager. Nobody knew. And I think that's a major part of the problem. I think after about 24, 48 hours, there should have been some system in place where somebody who could do something was notified. And so that's one of the things that I'm taking away from this experience. That and, just really being more mindful about the housing stock in District 1. Some of those 20 apartments that you said you could name earlier, I bet a bunch of them are in my district. So that said, this particular crisis, has it taught you anything? Do you have some takeaways?
I'm a baby organizer. I've actually not been an organizer on the ground too much. I lived in District 1 for a long time. I actually lived off of by Givens Park for a long time in District 3, but I live now off of Decker Lake Road, and I've always been on the east side. But I think it's listening to the tenants. I mean, you can see we're going to have a tenants association meeting in a minute, and we got some folks already showing up. So, like, it's listening to folks, and that's what the first thing that Carla and Beeper and a lot of folks here were like, hey, just listen to us. Like, there's a lot of folks coming in, and that was great. And there's a lot of great organizations like the Urban League, and a lot of other folks that were here doing things way before even we were. And we're not, all we do is try to help people. And a lot of folks were doing that too. So I think just listening. And I don't know if anybody over here wants to say anything, or it's, we've got 2 great leaders here. Carla, Tadiqua, I know Tadiqua likes to talk a lot. She's real good at talking. And Carla's a little bit more shy, but she's got a good voice. So
well, we appreciate all of y'all coming on. We don't want to hold up the Tenants Association meeting. I do want to just give my most sincere gratitude for all of y'all being on and for sharing with us. And, we'll see one another more in the coming days. And, we'll keep doing what we can to make this process move faster. I know that a lot of folks don't understand what's taken so long. They don't understand that it's difficult to find these rooms with a kitchenette in Austin. It's difficult to make accommodations that are appropriate for families. It's difficult, we had spring break and then the relays and then it's one of those things where it's like the most terrible time to try to find alternative lodging. And just frankly, finding places that are appropriate for families has been a big part of the challenge. But I hear that there's going to be some updates tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to receiving those. I want to thank y'all all for coming on this evening, and I hope you have a good meeting. And we'll be in touch in the coming days. And I really want to thank y'all for letting me in and allowing my team and I and my colleagues and I to do what we can to show up to support ultimately what's y'all's effort. So we appreciate you very much for allowing us to be a part of it.
Thank you.
We thank you as well.
thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank y'all. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. Wow. So Taniqua Brewster and Carla Davis joined us from Mount Carmel Village and are representing their tenants association, and Mitchell Jacob from BASTA Austin. I again, just really appreciate their participation. I've said this before and I'll say it again. The kind of disruption that the residents of Mount Carmel have had to deal with is unacceptable. I'm glad to see progress happening by way of the repair plan that will in fact restore gas and quality of life for residents. But I'm deeply upset at how much time and effort it has taken to get to this point. Even as construction is underway, there's still a lot of work to do. Residents must be relocated, special needs must be accounted for. That means accommodating families with young children, seniors, and even and others, even as the COVID-19 pandemic continues around them. Keeping scores of residents, many of those who don't speak English, up to speed with vital updates is a major concern. We'll continue to work with the property owners, with community advocates, with resource providers, with city staff, and with the tenants of Mount Carmel. Like Mincho said, the most important parties, the tenants of Mount Carmel, to navigate through this difficult and frustrating period. I will also work with my council colleagues to put into place policies that help prevent problems like this from bubbling up in the future. I want to thank everyone who has expressed concern or provided material help to the residents of Mount Carmel Village. Please stay tuned for future updates. Thank you for watching this evening and have a good night.